everyone, I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to the Big Guy Sports Podcast on USBN Sports on This Week in Anderson. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Steve Ellis. And Steve, this next guy that we got coming in, I've obviously known him for a really long time. He lived
babysat him.
He lived over to my house, and Timmy were really close. And so he got to experience maybe some, I don't know if he remembers you coming over that much or not, but I've known Adam since he was a little guy, so I'm really excited to talk to Adam.
Yeah, well, Adam Szabo, and I'm going to say all this, and hopefully he doesn't blush. Adam Szabo being at Anderson High School is a huge positive for Anderson High School athletes and students. You know, we've talked about Chris Newton and Rob Fellows and now Fender. This guy right here has taken the weight room, and as great as it is, and has raised the bar for every athlete. And we've already talked about it before we went on the air about how the strength has gone up, and the quality of athletes has gone up. And I'm telling you, it's because of him.
Yep, I totally agree. It's just exciting to see what has happened. In the last year, and seeing we'll kind of get into that a little bit. So, and I'm sure we're going to throw out some of the old stories back in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, but as we said, joining us is Adam Szabo, and Adam, I really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me. I've known Danny now since I was 9 years old. So long time.
I tell you what, it's kind of
he kind of looks at you a little differently.
He I don't know about that.
Well, it's more like an older brother love. Because I'm 45 now. I'll be 45 tomorrow.
Jeez.
So 36 years this guy has been in my life in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. That is scary when you look at it that way. You know that? I mean, it's just it really. And obviously, we know that the great side that you grew up on. So that's one of the questions we first start off on is what side of Summit. Obviously, it was the great side of Anderson. So going a little bit.
Where all the athletes are.
Exactly. So going a little bit about that, where you grew up and what it was like growing up.
So when I was 9 years old, my dad got transferred down here. He got a job and got a promotion. So we moved into Summit. My parents just moved here because they found out it was a good school district. At the time, Anderson was terrible at football, right? But my mom and dad would take us to the games every Friday night anyway because they knew how much we love football. So we kind of grew up being at Anderson football games. And then it also helped too that there were tons of kids in the neighborhood that were really good athletes. I mean, his little brother beat me in everything my entire life. I mean, he was always bigger than me, always stronger than me.
And who were some of the other ones?
Trevor Ellison, who is one of the best athletes Anderson's ever produced. I mean, he played college baseball and football at Wofford. Yep. Curtis Lyon, Patrick Kendall.
Yes.
We had all kinds of
Tupu
names.
Tupu, that's what we call them.
All kinds of guys playing. And so, I mean, we basically had our not-hold teams and our rec basketball teams together year-round. Because we were all together all the time, and we all lived within walking distance of each other.
Oh, you had Chris Walkie. You had I'm just trying to remember some of the other guys that were on there. And you had every guy that was on the baseball team was on the basketball team. Yep. And what was really cool about it too was the dads and the moms all got along very well. If they weren't there, they're at the Summit Swim Club. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty awesome.
So where'd your family move from?
Maple Heights, actually.
Maple Heights.
Yeah, we lived there, went to church in Bedford, and then we came down here. I mean, it was a good move. Thank goodness that my parents moved us down here because our lives have changed forever because of it.
Right. Well, you think about like when those paths of when you move, and it's I mean, my family had moved out here before I was born, but like if they would have moved to like Fairfield or something, what kind of path you would have taken?
Well, I wouldn't have met some of the most important people in my life. I mean, Vince Suriano, Andy Wolf. Right? I mean, those are two of the most important. They still take care of me to this day, and I'm 45 years old. Like I can take a kid to Andy at any point. I took a kid to him yesterday and said, "Hey, I think I know how to fix his running, but I just need another eye on it." And he immediately figured it out. I mean, so who has that? I mean, I can call him anytime I want.
How about that?
And Coach Suriano's around all the time, and it's great to go up to the press box, because even though I'm the strength coach, I go up to the press box to help the football team out a little bit on Friday nights, and whenever he's announcing our games, every time I walk walk by him, I just squeeze him, and he just looks at me and smiles, and it's amazing.
Well, let's think about that real quick. I just want to go on that story that you said. So it's funny that same thing with us. Our family moved. My family's from Norwood, so we could have went to Norwood High School.
Right.
Would have never met you.
Right.
Would have never met all the guys that we hung around with.
Who knows?
And you would have never. Timmy wouldn't. It's just the paths that our parents chose. And my mom and dad, same thing. Drove around, saw it was a good district, said this looks like a good place to live, and that's exactly what happened. So it's really cool that the path that that your mom and dad decided to come from West Virginia.
Yeah, they came out here, and they used to come out here a lot and go to Coney Island. Yeah, because that was like the only real main thing to do. And they came out here, and they're like, "Well, that's a nice area. Let's live close to Coney."
Well, and the big thing too was staying at the Rancho Rankin was the big thing back then.
Well, that was the only hotel.
It was a big deal.
And it was really nice. I promise you.
There is no way that was nice.
Yes. In the 60s, it was really nice.
Yeah.
It was the only thing around. I think the bowl was purple.
The big bowl, yeah.
It was purple. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, they had a big
I remember
concrete bowl or something out there.
And they had that guy that was on the convertible.
That's Rankin or
whatever his name.
Rankin. Yeah.
So, but when we were, it started getting really bad.
Well, when I was a teenager, we were told, "Don't you ever even pull into that parking lot."
No, I think you can rent the rooms by the hour or something.
Yeah, it was
all right, let's get back to it. So growing up, Adam, we talked a little bit about your play in baseball and basketball, I think, or football. What other sports did you play?
Well, we played everything growing up. Okay. All of us just went from football to basketball to baseball, and we just rotated through them all year round.
Okay. Did you have the same coaches?
Well, no. We had my dad and Mr. Ellison were two of our coaches of our fathers for football. And then I was lucky enough to have Mr. Albers, the big guy, and Mike as my basketball coaches. Okay. And then I really hit the jackpot with probably the greatest knot-hole baseball coach in the history of the universe, Jeff Shoskin.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And
there's
so
a name.
You want to talk about hitting the jackpot.
Yeah.
So I had all of these adults, supporting us year round. So they were taking care of all of us kids like we were their own kids all the time.
Wow.
They would yell at us when we need to. They pat us on the butt constantly. They were constantly encouraging us. They coached their butts off for us. I was just lucky.
One of the things I want to get back real quick is some guy that I remember was not only you had my dad and my brother who's coaching in basketball. You had Dave Peters. Remember Dave Peters?
Dave Peters,
Peters coach, and he was another good one. So you've had some great coaches. You really have.
We were pretty lucky.
All right. So as you got into high school, what sports did you play?
I went to football first.
Okay.
I didn't play basketball in high school or middle school or anything like that. Okay. And then my junior year, I decided to go out for track to get better at football, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
Okay.
And so I ran my last 2 years. So I played football for 4 years and ran track for 2 years.
Okay.
Life was good.
Well, okay. So you mentioned a little bit about Coach Wolf. Talk a little bit about Andy and what kind of effect obviously he's had on you in both personally and your coaching.
Well, everything that I have in terms of my business is because of Andy Wolf.
Wow.
Because at 16 years old, I was learning Olympic level stuff. I just didn't know it, right? I was just being a good kid doing what I was supposed to do. Right. And then our assistant coach was an old Anderson guy too named Jed Davis, who
graduated with us.
Who went to the University of Houston to run. Well, he got trained by Carl Lewis's coach.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he was our sprint coach, and Andy was our head coach.
Yeah.
And go figure, we go out there and we win the district, right? We had the best coaches around. So,
wow.
But we got taught at such a young age. So I went to college, and then I come out of college and I start coaching for Andy, and he's taking me to track clinics and everything. And I'm sitting there listening to Olympic level coaches talk, and I'm going, I know what they're talking about. Like, how do I know what they're talking about?
Andy. Yeah.
Well, because I had Andy Wolf, and he built the foundation. So even though they were filling in gaps of stuff I didn't know, I could at least follow along because I had such a good foundation at 16 years old.
Wow. And that's
incredible.
And then we'll get into the football in a second, but I mean, having Andy Wolf and then, Vince, who we've heard from everybody says that every practice was like a college practice.
It was. And the organization of it changed all of our lives lives also, because so I become a head coach eventually, and I knew I kind of made it because one day I'm walking through the locker room, and we used to make fun of Coach all the time because, he had the itinerary up on the board. So we would say stupid things like, take Gizmo out at 7 so we can poop. We would say all these stupid things like that he would have on the board at home.
Right.
And one day I was walking through the locker room at Williamsburg, and I heard some kids making the same comments about me, and I just laughed because it was
funny.
like, yes, they're making fun of me just like Coach Suriano. It just kind of brought us full circle.
So in track, what events were you in?
I ran all the sprints.
Okay.
But I was lucky enough to run on the 4x1 team that was the district champs because we had PJ. I mean, I was the worst athlete of the 4. Because
don't say that.
Stop it.
Well, I'm about ready to tell you why, and you're going to understand. PJ Sciano led off, who went to Division I, play tailback. Then we had Brian Capral, maybe the best track athlete ever in the history of Anderson, right? And then you had me, and then I gave the baton to the state pole vault champion, Jake Andreadis, right?
Oh, wow, that is pretty good.
So we had 2 of the best track athletes in the history of Anderson running, and then me and PJ just filled in the gap.
Just don't drop it.
Just don't screw it up.
Oh, that is great.
Wow.
So we kind of briefly mentioned Vince, and we've had Jake Andreadis was one you just mentioned. That we've had a couple guys that have talked about if we had a Mount Rushmore, they've been coached by 2 of the best we would have on Mount Rushmore, Andy Wolf and Vince Suriano. You had the same thing. Talk a little bit of what it was about, like for you, some of the other things about Vince and what he's meant to you too as well.
Well, he helped out a ton when I was a young head stupid football coach, right? I was 25 years old when I got my first job.
Where was that at?
At Williamsburg. And you would ask the question, who would hire a 25-year-old? Well, first of all, someone who's completely arrogant and, and not knowing what he's getting himself into, as a head coach. And then the other part is obviously they weren't a very good football team. So I was starting from scratch. We had 22 players my first year. And so he was a huge help to just bounce things off of all the time. But my mom always tells the story that the reason why she loved us playing for Coach Suriano is because she said the stuff that we taught you at home got reiterated at football.
Wow.
And so she didn't care what they did to us.
Right.
Because she was just like, he's teaching them how to be men. He is upholding the values of our family.
Discipline.
Yes. And so thank goodness there's another voice, right, besides the parents. Because we were 16 years old. We didn't want to listen to our parents, but we did everything Coach Suriano told us to do.
I mean, as everybody has always said, and I never played football or never played for Coach Suriano, but everybody's always said you'd run through a wall for that guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we always felt like we were the most prepared people also because we had really, really good coaches. I mean, when I was a junior, we had 6 different guys that became head football coaches.
Really?
Yeah. So we were loaded.
Name some of those guys.
Joe Rietfeld.
Oh, he went on to win a state championship.
Yeah, Bob Parrish. Jeff Geesting, the only person to ever win a state championship at Anderson High School.
Correct.
And we had a couple other guys, too, that were just really good. I mean, to talk about how I lived a charmed life also, every football practice my entire life at Anderson High School, I spent with Bob Mullinex and Jeff Geesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about the good life. Because, Jeff, the more serious one, and then Bob was the comic relief.
That's just a little bit,
Yeah, but they were both excellent coaches.
Right.
So we were getting coached by them every day also. So, I mean, even our assistant coaches were really good. So it's not a surprise if you look at the banners right now in the gym, there's tons of league championships from the 90s.
Right.
Well, we had all these great coaches.
You would do anything for those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby's your coach, Jeff. I mean, but obviously Vince.
And again, Vince is, I only coached with him 1 year, his first year, and he had an influence on me just that first year. But Vince and I, same thing. Vince calls me up, and he does that show with me. It's like Vince is just, he loves Anderson High School, and he loves the kids, and, he gets emotional about that. And that's what's so cool, to see that and see how you react and how everybody, Timmy, everybody that we've talked to so far is the same way.
Well, it's hilarious because Evan Dreyer makes fun of me all the time now because because he calls me basically Little Vince because I'm so anal retentive.
Yeah.
That he's just like, man, you are Coach Suriano's disciple. I'm like, yes, I am.
So, after your playing days were over, you happened to coach at Anderson when they won on the state championship team. Being a guy that was on a team that sucked back in the day, we were awful, and to broadcast that game for me was very, very emotional. What was that like for you to coach your high school to a state championship?
Well, it was pretty amazing. I mean, because you got to also remember when I came back, Anderson, wasn't on the same level as they were that we had those first couple years that Jeff was there. I mean, those are the best 3 years in the history of Anderson High School.
Right.
You win the state championship, lose the state championship, and then lose in the regional finals in Division I. And that year we would have,
we would have won.
We would have won it. I mean, Winton Woods won by 40 in the state championship game, and we scored 52 on them.
Oh my gosh!
Season.
How about that?
But coming back was awesome because it's my alma mater, and then it even got sweeter because my dad came on as the equipment manager, and which he's been ever since.
Yep.
And so I got to win the state championship with my dad.
Yeah, how cool is that?
At my alma mater.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow. Let's add to it, for the guy I spent every day at football with, Jeff Geeston.
Yeah.
Right? Because now he's the head coach.
He's the head coach. How cool is that?
It really, really is cool. I know Greg and I were very emotional. Here I am, playing games back in the day, and we had 20 people in the stands or whatever you want to call it, and here I am in front of 12,000 fans, and it's like, man, and obviously I was geeked up more. I'm pretty excited during the games anyways, but during that game I was a little bit more geeked up. It was really cool,
and for everybody. I mean, like I said, I never played, but I was there and just the chills and like wishing that, God, what if my dad was there?
I know. I thought just how awesome. Just your dad would have been
able to keep him down.
Well, I'm looking at one of the best pictures ever in Anderson High School history.
I agree.
Him and Brett Harrison after losing to St. X, right?
That's it.
And I mean, that was that because he was always at all of our games,
right?
And then he's hugging a kid who lived and died Anderson football at all times with Brett Harrison, right? He'd have done anything for anybody at any time, and so it was great.
He was special. I'm telling you, it's I'm telling Steve all these videos I found that we've got that we're putting up, and they were all marked with his dad's signature and everything on there, and he's so meticulous about putting everything in order. So it's really cool that his dad got to at least experience that, the first playoff win and all that stuff too. So.
Well, even to add to all of that, also there's been a Szabo at Anderson High School since 1989. With only like 2 or 3 years where there wasn't one there that was playing or coaching. Or teaching.
Yeah.
There's been one of us there. There was only like
crazy.
a 3-year period.
How about that?
That is crazy.
And then on top of that, 3 out of the first 4 playoff teams that ever played at Anderson, there was a Szabo 81 playing free safety.
That is cool.
Is that right?
Yeah. So me, Aaron, and Benny all got to play in the playoffs when we were seniors, and that was 3 out of the first 4 times.
How awesome is that?
Cool.
Yeah. So then to come back and then to tie all this together, I played for Coach Suriano.
Yep.
Now I'm coaching for Jeff.
Yep.
And get to win that, and now I'm coaching for Dreyer.
Yeah.
I've been through the whole gamut.
It's incredible.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
So when you after high school, where did you go to school, and was there? I mean, did you play anything? Was there any thoughts of that about recruiting?
I played a year at Wittenberg.
Okay.
And it's official because I had 1 catch my freshman year. No, I didn't play a ton. Right?
We're not going to Google it.
So it is official.
Okay.
But no, I loved my time there. I went back my sophomore year, and I was just done playing football.
Yeah.
And so I have no negative feelings towards Wittenberg. I even helped Coach Fincham out, who's been up there for years. I would help him out from time to time with off-season stuff. So that was a great experience also, and I'm glad I got to have that.
I mean, to say that I don't care what anybody says. To say you went on to play, I mean,
that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. So I want to go back. You had mentioned that you were the head coach at Williamsburg. And how long were you the head coach? And just looking back on it now, tell us about how that experience was.
Well, I was there for 3 years. We went went 0-10 my first year and had like 22 kids.
Okay.
Then we went 1-9 my second year, and then at the end we went 3-7, and I had like 40-something kids on the team.
Okay.
But I then got the job at Bethel, which who knows why they would give me the job. Well, we beat Bethel twice. Okay. In 3 years. So that was of my, 4 wins, we beat Bethel twice. So I guess that earned me the Bethel job.
Yeah.
And then so I went to Bethel, and my first year there, we went 5-5. My second year, we went 3-7. Chris and I were getting ready to have children. I was exhausted. I was too immature and young to handle the totality of the situation. So it was time to go.
Okay.
But they had won 2 games in 2 years before I got there, and we won 8. So it's not like we didn't.
That's great.
That's awesome.
But that's one of my regrets, actually, is that I didn't stick it out there.
Yeah.
Because I think eventually we would have been a playoff team with some of the classes that were coming through. I think we'd have been okay. But then on the other hand, I timed it up pretty well because my first year at Anderson, we won the state championship.
There you go, see?
So, all right, so I want to go a little bit through your career path because I know you had started up your own company, I believe, and leading up to where you're at now, because, Danny, I think we really need to focus on this part because I think it's so important, to talk about what he has done with the weight room, with the athletes, and how he's raised the bar and that. So tell us, you originally started your own company, is that right?
Yeah, so when I was at Anderson, we had a coach, Jeremiah Larbus, who was also a coach at Midland. And, I was coaching track and all that kind of stuff. Well, I started training Division III and Division II college football players in the summer. It's just something to do, make a little extra money. Kristen was staying home with the kids, how that is. Yep. Well, then Jeremiah brings me a kid one day, and he says, this kid keeps falling on the base paths when he's running. Well, it was a pretty easy fix, actually, if you knew anything about running. Okay. So fixed him, and then later on that year, Midland hired me to be their strength coach.
Oh, wow.
So I was coaching football at Anderson and being the Midland strength coach in the summer. So I've done that for a while now. And we want to talk about a good gig.
Yeah.
That's about as good as it gets, right?
That's great.
They bring you the best baseball players in the country and say, have fun with them.
Yeah.
Right? And which I do. And then after that, people kept calling, and I kept telling them no. So eventually I looked at Chris and I said, I can't keep telling all of them no. In some ways, it was financially driven. Right?
Okay, sure.
And so I took a job as Purcell Marion's boys basketball strength coach.
Okay.
And then that led to getting the whole school.
Oh, okay.
And then I got Wyoming's boys basketball program, and then that led to the whole school. Then Waynesville's boys basketball got the whole school. Williamsburg boys basketball got the whole school. But I had trainers working for me at the time. So it turned from a little rinky-dink business to a 6-figure a year, gross income business, which was crazy. It got out of control quickly in a good way. And thank goodness I had some amazing trainers that are still around the city now. I sold off a big chunk of the business because my kids are getting older and I'm busy at Anderson. So I just have Anderson and Midland now. But I sold off some of it to my other guys, and they're doing great also. So
it's incredible.
During my time of doing all that with all the different schools, we won 6 state championships or national championships. We got to the finals another 6 times and lost, and then got to the Final Four another 4 times. But to show how great my trainers were, I sell off Waynesville to one of my trainers, and he goes and wins a girls soccer state championship this year. And then Wyoming goes too, and then they win. They maybe had the greatest fall of any high school in the history, right? They had the number 1 seed in football. Their volleyball team went to the regional finals. Their girls soccer team lost in penalty kicks in the state championship game, and the boys soccer team won. That was their fall.
Oh my gosh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that just shows you how good a people I had working with me. So the business just kind of grew, but I told everybody all the time, the minute I'm able to come back to Anderson, if Pat Thatcher ever decides to leave, I'll come back to Anderson and I'll sell all the business and I'll live happily ever after.
Wow.
And that's what's happened.
How lucky are we? So talk about Anderson and their new weight room, semi-new, a couple of years, I guess, and how all that's going and what new things you've brought to the table.
Well, we do do a lot more speed training and running than most schools do. And I'm talking schools all over the place. Because the way I look at it is you run more during a game than you actually touch the ball. You know, like you'll appreciate it as a basketball coach. You spend most of the time without the ball.
Right.
But you spend all of the time running and being athletic. So we concentrate on that a little bit more with all of our athletes. So no matter what sport they play, we're trying to get them stronger and faster and more agile.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say, does that work for fat people like me? Can you give me
yes, because
faster, agile, and
mobile,
agile, mobile,
hostile.
Yes, because even though I'll never get you fast, I can get you faster.
Oh, there it is. That's a selling
good
point.
We can do like a before and after video, like show me like puking, you know, and then you know what I mean.
And with a pulled hamstring.
Yes.
Pull
both hands.
You don't want to see that. Yeah. So, well, because I've had some personal experience. Because Adam, he coached track. He coached my niece Katie.
Yeah.
And then both my daughters have gone through. And you know, if you want to get an idea of what he's done with the athletes at Anderson and just the getting excited about being just to go to the weight room.
Right.
You know, we didn't even have that opportunity.
But a closet.
I mean, when you can get cheerleaders and dance team members to be excited to go to the weight room, you're doing something.
Well, and I'm going to tell you something. It's obviously made Sammy agile because I've seen her do the splits in those dance competition, and it is absolutely amazing what she can do.
I don't get it, but I'll tell you this: Adam has more to do with it than I do.
Well, the thing is, we set up the program. We've done this at every school that it's always available to all kids at all times. So Jan Wilking, when she was the AD at Wyoming, and she's getting ready to leave, and she's amazing. She's an amazing person, and it was great working for her. She would evaluate me on 2 questions every year. So at the end of the year, we'd sit in her office, and we would only have conversations about 2 questions.
Okay.
Is every kid able to get in the weight room whenever they need to? And the second one is, the kids that are coming, are they getting better? Those are the only 2 things we talk about. Because you can't force all the kids to come, but all you got to do is make it available. So when we go to a new school, we go to Anderson, and we're training the dance team girls with the boys basketball kids. And at first, the dance team girls were like, this is craziness. Like, this guy's nuts. But then eventually they realized I was pushing them, and I loved them, and I was taking care of them. And then they bought in. And now as a team, they're our best girl sport. We have 2 seniors right now that weigh 100 pounds and can squat 225. And then we have another girl on the dance team that can squat over 250 pounds. So we got all these little girls that are just studs.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Sammy says some of the guys don't laugh at him anymore.
Oh, of course not. That's amazing.
Well, and to be honest with you, when I first heard I had to train the dance team, I went, are you kidding me? And then I met all the girls, and I was like, this is sweet. Let's go.
Right.
And so now they're my girls, right? I mean, so I'm as tight with them as any team in the entire
So do you try to go to as many events as you can? Like many, I know obviously you're tied up with football, but do you try to go to as many things as you can?
Well, I mean, I'll blatantly say I'm not football's strength coach. I'm the Anderson High School strength coach. So now, granted, I go to a lot of the football games, but I get to almost everything. Like I was at the ECC cheerleading and dance competition, so I try to get to all the stuff. I make sure I try to get all the tournament games. But the reason why this all works is because I have a bunch of people working with me also. I have Dave Brandon, Dave Lunn, Heather Morency, and Jeff Granger. And this would not go without them.
Yeah, that's a good group.
Because they're all great teachers.
Yeah.
They're all great human beings, and they work their tails off down there. So like, I don't have to be there every day because they can be there. So like this morning I did football, and then in the afternoon, Dave Brandon and Jeff Granger did the throwers, the Nagel kids, baseball, and lacrosse. And I just did nothing. So it's keeping us fresh also because it's so much work because there's so many kids.
Right.
I mean, we're basically in there from 3 to 5:30 every single day.
Right.
And you can't keep that up year round.
Right.
So it's
and
nice
they're
to
all
have everybody.
as passionate as Adam is.
And that's all. That's what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, that gets you motivated to want to work,
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Well, and
awesome.
it's good to have the different voice because the way I treat the kids is totally different than the way some of the other people treat the kids. And some of them respond respond to me better. Some of them respond to them better. So it's nice to have everybody around.
Well, I know that everybody appreciates it, Adam. I mean, especially me. But I mean, just like what Jan has asked you about, are they getting better? There's no question of that.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love to hear it, and just remember you when you were that little dude at the house now, and he's showing everybody what to do. I love it.
So let's talk about family, because I love your whole family. But get us caught up on Aaron and Ben.
Yeah, so Aaron is a special ed teacher at Kings, and he's also the offensive coordinator at Kings. Yeah. And we haven't beat them for a while. So once a year, I'm just so mad at him, and I'm so annoyed by him because he's getting to be such a good coach. Like
he's an excellent coach.
He knows passed me up football knowledge-wise at this point, and so it's kind of annoying because
how do we get him back here? We got to get him back here. I know he loves it there, but we got to get him back here.
But the thing, what you got to do? We got Evan and Mike Cook. We got two of the best offensive coordinators, right? Come on, we got two of the best offensive minds in the state.
Well, I just want to say something about that.
I love Aaron.
That's what I was going to say about Aaron. Just this is how awesome it is for me too. Is that all the years that I've been doing the games, he always makes sure to come up to the press box to see me and give me a hug.
Oh yeah.
Every single time that we go to Kings,
great guy.
Every time he's at Anderson, he always comes up, gives me a hug, and tells me how much he loves me. And you don't know how awesome that makes me feel.
Sure.
Because that's how special you guys are to me and my family, and that just speaks volumes of you.
It's the Szabo. That's what it is. Yeah,
it really does.
When I was at Marymount, he would text me not on the wins, on the losses. Keep your head up, doing a great job.
Yeah, because you're his coach.
Yeah.
And you'll always be his coach, right? You had him in middle school, right?
Picture, I have a picture of that. Yeah. Makes me feel literally old, but
it's just awesome.
It just speaks for. All right, so, and Ben?
Benny is, he was in the military for a while, and now he's out. He's actually getting ready to get a new job as a corrections officer at Claremont County.
So, no kidding. That's great.
Good for him.
Life's good with that. Everybody's doing well. Dad is still doing the equipment. He's still Papa Szabo to all the kids.
Yeah.
And the kids
and he loves it. I mean, you can see the smile on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah, he just loves to be in the mix all the time. He just loves Friday nights and gets excited about all of that.
And you married another Anderson
kids that I coached that had some hard times in their home lives, but were amazing kids. One of them lived with us for a year.
Okay.
And so my oldest, one of my kids from Bethel, was the first one we started taking care of. He's 30 now.
Oh, my God.
He just had triplets. So I have triplet grandbabies.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah, so that's
Adam, that is really cool, man.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Wow.
That's brought a good part to our life, because actually this weekend I screwed up. I didn't realize the father-daughter dance was this weekend, so me and my brothers always take my nephew to a Michigan basketball game, and we scheduled it for this weekend.
Oh.
So my youngest son, who's 27, took my youngest to the father-daughter dance.
That is
so it's
cool.
just, it's a good life.
Yeah, I've been there. But I had a basketball game, and one of my nephews both my nephews took my daughters to the Summit dance.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Hey, your mom? How's your mom?
She's great. She was just over at my house today, helping us take care of kids and helping kids run around.
God, I'd love to see her. I haven't seen her for so long. She probably wouldn't even recognize me.
Well, the thing is, we talk about your mom the same way, right? Because when my parents got divorced, my mom was having trouble getting Benny to school sometimes because she had to leave so early for work. So Mrs. Albers took care of Benny every morning for a couple days a week.
Oh, is that right?
And then got him to school, and she spoiled the crap.
I bet.
Absolutely spoiled.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's really cool though. Like Steve and I, obviously, grew up together, went to the same school, went to college together. Do you still keep in touch with? Obviously, I know you're at Anderson, but guys that maybe are out of state or whatever. You keep in touch with a lot of the guys from Anderson?
I'm really bad about that. It's hard for me because I'm not on any social media. I'm like a caveman. Yeah. So it's hard for me to get. Kristen keeps me in touch because she's friends with all of them.
There you go.
But a lot of my friends growing up, I'm starting to get their kids at Anderson now, like Steve Adams, Rich Strasbaugh, Tom Regan, all of them, Mikey Martin. I've had all their kids so far. So that's been fun. God. So in a way, that kind of keeps us reconnected because then I run into them at games and stuff like, because their kids are playing sports also.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. The one thing that we always talk about is obviously we're talking about, we've talked about it pretty much this whole podcast, is why Anderson's so special, and I think we've kind of hit on it already, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a special place.
It's a great family atmosphere, and all of our parents moved here for a reason.
Yeah.
And we live here for a reason, right? Because I live in the district also. I live in Sherwood, so it's just a great place to grow up.
I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we're going to try to wrap this up, and I probably should have warned you about this one to kind of give you some, to try to give you some memories here.
I can't imagine what you're about ready to say.
This one's good. It's just trying
What was your prom date's name? No, I'm just kidding.
I won't do anything. No, I was going to say, give me a story about Timmy, but I won't say that either. Give me one of your favorite high school memories, a college memory, and then maybe a favorite teacher, coach, but I think you've kind of...
Yeah, maybe go with the teachers.
Yeah, so go ahead and give me your favorite high school memory.
High school memory from sports?
Yeah, or it could be anything. It doesn't matter. I mean...
Oh, man. We playing in the St. X game my senior year when they were 1 in the city and we were 2 in the city, and there was 9,000 people there. And we were enclosed because they only blocked off the area where the cheerleaders were, that front stretch of the 100. And it was 4 or 5 people deep. And then Rich Newman put on the show where he painted the end zones like Tennessee. And he had Mike Stringer go out there. He ruined one of Andy's javelins, who he's still mad about that to this day. It's a spike into in the middle with the fire, and that was an amazing night.
That was an amazing.
That was the same night they had like a helicopter drop the ball in, was it?
I don't think it was that.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, but no, I don't think that was the same. But that was just
that was crazy too.
But yeah, that was a great game. I'll never forget.
I mean, we ended up losing, but it was still one of my best memories I've ever had.
How could it not be?
Unfortunately, I think that killed you for the playoffs. I think it beat the crap out of it. It beat the living crap out of you.
I remember on Wednesday being at practice and just being exhausted because it was like we had spent everything. But I mean, once again, as a sophomore, my brother's a senior. We beat Princeton and then go play St. X. And then 2 years later, I get to be involved in that game. I mean, I got to be involved with some of the
best games in Anderson history.
We went 29-4 my 3 years there, even though I played junior and senior. We went 29-4, got to play in 3 playoff games, got to be in 3 playoff games, and it was just
incredible.
It was great.
So much fun.
I won 9 games in my 4 years.
I think that might be high.
It might be high. Yeah, so we were bad. We were you know what our claim to fame was? Played Green Hills, and they were the state runner-up, and we beat them. That was the only loss was to us, and we were bad back then.
You know what? Coach Soriano talks about that game a lot.
Really?
Yes, because what year was he coaching?
That was he wasn't coaching me then.
This was 85.
This is Stowe.
John Stowe.
This is John Stowe's year.
85, 86.
But that was the year. So I played, and then the next year I coached so Stowe coached 1 more year after I graduated. Then I came in, so it was 2 years removed from me. So Vince probably saw the old film or something like that, or whatever.
Or you might be talking about the end of his first year when he was trying to turn things around.
That was it.
Yeah, and because somebody's already mentioned that there's a game where
Troy.
it's like, we could possibly do this. We're getting better.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. So just so what about a college memory? You got a favorite college memory? Your one reception?
Yes, the one reception against Oberlin College. It was like the worst football team in the country. No, we ended up playing Allegheny that year, and that was like the first big Division III football game that I was involved in, and because they were one of the better teams in the country, and so were we, and they were our rival in the league, and we beat them that day. We had a senior named Eugene Harden that put on a show. So I'll never forget that one.
Wow,
that's cool.
That's a good one. And then just go ahead. You've probably named some of the coaches. How about do you have a favorite teacher?
Mr. Horton.
I don't remember him.
Yeah.
He was an older guy who taught math.
Okay.
And he was the best math teacher I ever had, and he was one of the reasons why I became a math teacher.
He's a math teacher.
Yeah.
Mr. Horton. We never heard of him, but that's added to the list.
Yeah, he wasn't at Anderson that long. He ended up becoming a college professor. But he was just an incredible human being.
Okay.
He just made math very interesting. And now, I have a math degree now. I'm a math teacher. So
Wow. Any other teachers?
all of the coaches, really. I mean, my life revolved around coaches. So I was just around the coaches 24 hours a day, and they just took care of us all the time.
Yeah, I think was Groom still there when you were there, Mr.
Yeah,
Grooms?
I never had him though.
God, he was awesome. I loved him. Roger Grooms, and then Cinco, and Mrs. Coleman.
Yes,
that's what everybody says.
That's what, but I know, but that's what back in the day for us. That's what it was. I mean,
So do you know Miss Coleman?
I do. So I never had her though.
She was a cheerleading coach when we were in high school. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to see that now, but she was a cheerleading advisor.
My brother was close to her because of Todd, my brother and Todd played baseball coming up through.
Okay.
And so my brother was way closer to her than the rest of us were.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I'll tell you what, this has been awesome catching up, and and just like just same thing with you. When I see you, it's the same thing, at the games, and just brings back a lot of the memories. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy, but taking the time to join us on this podcast has been pretty awesome.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So for Steve Ellis, Dan Albers, and Adam Szabo, you've been listening to This Week in Anderson. We'll catch you next week.